On April 23, 2018, Toronto would see its deadliest vehicle ramming attack in Canadian history. The man behind the wheel, Alek Minassian. He was a self-described incel who regularly conversed with like-minded people on 4chan, one of those being Elliot Roger, who I'll make a video on in the future. Alek had one mission, and that was to kill all the Chads so the Stacys would be forced to reproduce with him and his incel comrades. For those of you out of the loop, Chads are the tall, good-looking men of the world, and Stacys are the pretty girls who chase those men. A typical example would be your classic popular jock and cheerleader couple. He drove to a van rental service and requested one for moving. He had absolutely no clue on how to drive it and even asked one of the workers how to switch gears. He then sat in the van for 20 minutes before posting a cryptic message to Facebook signifying that the Incel Rebellion had begun. He then headed towards downtown Toronto and began his attack. He took the van up onto the curbs and deliberately ran over anyone in his path. The end result would leave 11 dead and 15 injured. The age range of the victims were 22 to 94 years old. One of the victims initially survived the attack but was paralyzed from the neck down and never left the hospital. She died 3 years later in 2021. Alek ended up pulling over and ending his attack due to someone's drink splashing on his windshield. When police arrived, he drew an object out of his pocket in an attempt to make it look like he was drawing a gun. He ultimately wanted suicide by cop. However, police didn't buy it and he was taken in for questioning. This is personally one of my favorite interrogations due to the excellent detective work and the sheer rawness of things Alek describes. If you enjoy true crime and interrogations, make sure to subscribe. I post weekly.
Okay. So, before we go any further, just tell me what happened from the time we left this room until the time we came back. What took place?
My lawyer told me not to answer.
Okay. I understand that. Okay, and I'm glad you told me that. You know why? Because that tells me you understand what your rights are. Okay. But you need to understand something. Okay. We, the police, have a job to do. Okay, and that job includes collecting evidence, speaking to people, trying to understand and uncover what's happened, what took place, and asking questions. And we're obligated to sit down and speak to people like yourself who are in this position and ask you questions, all right? Your lawyer's right, you don't have to answer any questions, okay? But you need to understand something, Alek, okay? I still have to ask you questions, okay? And I'm going to ask you questions, all right?
Some of you may wonder why detectives even go through interrogations on such clear-cut cases. It's simply to gather as much information as possible to use as counter-arguments against defense later on in the trial. You'll notice the detective asks a lot of easy questions to get a general feel for Alek's mental state.
And I'm going to talk, okay? And it's not, I'm not doing that to make you feel intimidated or to make you scared or to say things that you don't want to hear, okay? But the bottom line is we have a very difficult job to do, okay? And this is a very, very important matter that we're dealing with here today, all right? So I'm going to ask you questions. If you don't want to answer them, you can tell me you don't want to answer them. Or you don't have to say anything at all. I totally understand that. But as long as we can still maintain that respect that we talked about at the beginning, is that cool?
Yes.
Is that cool? You're not going to offend me, okay? You're not going to make me upset or insult me if you say, Rob, I don't want to answer that question, okay? If you're kicking over the table and screaming, well, that's going to cause a problem, okay? But I'm not going to be offended, okay? And I understand, okay? But you also need to understand that I have a job to do. I have to ask questions, okay? If you don't want to tell me what we did from the time we left, the time we came back, is it fair to say that while we were out, you spoke to a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to suggest that the only person you had any contact with was with me. Is that right?
What do you mean?
Well, you didn't speak to any other police officers.
Correct.
Right. So I'm the only police officer that was in your custody from the time we left this room until the time we came back. If I'm not mistaken, the officers fed you, is that right?
Yes.
Downstairs in the cells?
Yes.
What did they feed you?
Sandwich and juice.
A sandwich and a juice. Okay. Are you hungry?
No.
Okay. Did you have anything else to eat today?
I ate before I was arrested.
Okay. And what time was that?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you remember what you ate?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right. If you're hungry at all, at any point in time, you just let me know. Okay. If you need to borrow the washroom, you just let me know. Okay. I'm going to leave that up to you to tell me. Okay, because I'm not going to know if you're hungry or not. I'm not going to know if you need to go to the washroom. So I'm going to rely on you to tell me that. Is that cool?
Yes.
All right. How much sleep did you have last night?
About 8 hours.
About 8 hours. And how did you sleep?
I slept well.
You slept well. And where did you sleep? Was it your home?
I do not wish to answer that.
Okay, all right. Nevertheless, you slept well. Okay. I want to ask you something, Alek, and this is important. Are you on any kind of medication right now?
No.
Okay, so do you take any, what I mean by medication, do you take anything prescribed for any physical injuries or ailments of any type?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. What about medication for psychological issues?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. Has a doctor, have you seen a doctor recently with respect to any medical issues that I should be concerned about?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. What about psychological issues?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. Alek, can I ask you this? Because it's important. And I'm saying this because I think I know the answer. But am I wrong to understand that in high school you were identified as someone with special needs?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. We just met for the very first time, and you don't know me. Am I right?
Correct.
Right. And I've never met you before, but I do know a great deal about you, and it's important I get to know you better. The reason why I say that is because this is an important issue that brings you here today. Okay, it's very serious, and I think I would be neglectful if I didn't at least try and understand who you are. That's all I'm trying to do. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel intimidated right now? Are you scared or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Will you let me know if that ever happens?
I will let you know.
Okay. All right. If there's anything I say that is offensive, or that you find offensive, or if there's anything I say that you don't like, will you let me know?
Yes.
Okay. The reason why I say that, because I don't want to offend. That's not why I'm here. Okay. I do know this. My understanding is you were in a special needs class in high school. Okay. It was a small classroom, specifically designed for people with special needs. My understanding is that there were a number of students in that class who excelled very well in certain areas and didn't do very well, or were they performed poorly in other areas. So there were, there was a mixture of individuals in the class, and the idea behind being placed in the special needs class was to focus on the areas where they didn't perform as well. In my conversation with you, in my experience with people with special needs, because I've been doing this a long time, and I have actually family members who have special needs because of a variety of different reasons. I can recognize people who have special needs. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying, okay? I don't want to be saying something that is going to confuse you or make you feel uncomfortable or make you feel scared. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Do you find yourself do you play a lot of video games? A guy like you, 25 years old, imagine you're...
Yeah, I actually like playing video games, especially the violent ones.
The violent ones, yeah.
I just like to let out all my urges into the TV screen.
That's why they're there, right? What other ones do you play?
I played Halo a lot in the past.
Okay, all right. That's more of a sci-fi kind of futuristic stuff. It's not... I wouldn't say Halo's terribly violent. I mean, you're killing Martians and things like that.
At least you're not killing other humans.
Yeah. Do you play Grand Theft Auto?
I played it a couple of times on someone else's Xbox. I've never actually owned any copies of Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm. So as far as being a gamer, how would you classify yourself? Are you like a big gamer?
I would classify myself as a hardcore gamer.
Hardcore gamer. So in terms of hours spent during the day playing video games, how often would you? How many hours would you spend?
I would say an average of 5 hours per day.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. That seems reasonable. That's at your age, I'd probably do the same thing.
Even given my course loads.
Okay, and so that's with school.
Yes.
So okay, and you were full time.
Yes.
My understanding is you're living at home. You don't live on your own. Am I right?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. But you have a good relationship with your mom and dad.
Yes.
Yeah. And has your relationship always been good with your mom and dad?
Yes.
Okay. And have they been supportive and loving throughout your life?
Yes.
And were there any difficulties in your life growing up with your mom and dad?
No.
No. What about with school? Were there difficulties with school growing up?
No.
No. And so when I talk about that, I'm talking about like the school curriculum. Going to school, learning, and completing your assignments and things like that. Were there any issues?
No.
Okay. What about the students?
No, I never had any issues.
Never had any issue with any of the students or anything like that? No. And I say this because sometimes these things are important. How were you treated by the other students?
I was treated well.
You treated well. Okay. Did you have any difficulties with any particular group of students?
No.
No. What about difficulties with girls in particular?
No.
No difficulties with girls at all?
No.
No, not at all. How do you feel about girls in general?
I'm attracted to them.
Oh, you are? Okay. So you're heterosexual?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that? Okay, that's important. Have you ever had a relationship with a female?
I don't wish to answer that.
Okay, all right. In terms of females, I mean females and women, because you're 25, you're a young man, right? We'll call them women. In terms of your feelings towards women in general, how would you describe that?
I would say that sometimes I am a bit upset that they choose to date obnoxious men instead of gentlemen.
Yeah. So I have I got involved in this situation. I'll tell you about it later. But so my understanding is you have some problems with women who date obnoxious men. Right?
Yes.
And these guys, I'm thinking you're talking about the fellows who are loud, arrogant, generally outgoing and popular with girls.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And you have a problem with the women that date these fellas?
Yes.
Why is it that you have a problem with the women?
Because I feel that it's illogical to be dating such men when they could be dating gentlemen instead. Right.
That makes sense. I mean, and I've seen that because I've grown up. And I'll tell you one of the issues that I had as a kid growing up, because I was, this is going to say, you might not believe me, but I wasn't a very big kid growing up.
The detective will now do an excellent job at creating a sense of relatability with Alek. Whether or not the story he tells is even true, he gets Alek to feel more comfortable by somewhat agreeing with him and making him feel like they're on the same side. The detective has found the topic that Alek enjoys discussing the most, and he utilizes it to his advantage.
I was actually very, very small, and it took me a long time to grow. And so as a result, I was kind of ostracized. You know what I mean by ostracized? I was kind of
Cast aside.
Cast aside, yeah. And or I left out, like I wouldn't get picked for teams, or anything like that. I was always kind of the last guy. You ever see those television shows where all the kids are lined up and they're getting picked for the teams, and there's always one guy left out at the end.
Yeah.
That was me. I was that guy. And I was never very popular with girls in school. And that kind of actually went on through the early part of my adulthood, until I started, getting taller and maturing, right? But I understand exactly what you meant, because I was, as a kid growing up, I was, I was like any other kid, any other young man, right? You would look at attractive girls, and I knew I was probably just as smart, if not smarter, than some of the clowns they were dating. But because, for whatever reason, I didn't have what it took, they wouldn't date me. Because I think because I was short, they wouldn't date me, and they'd end up dating, the tall jocks and the other, the good-looking fellows. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Then you kind of resent these girls, right?
Yeah.
Because, that's kind of a superficial way of deciding, who it is
because
you're going to
height is an unfair. You can't control your height.
Right, exactly. Right.
This is the first time Alek has given some extra input on a topic the detective has brought up. Knowing he's on the right track, the detective will now pursue that route even further. By getting Alek to talk and express his opinions on one topic, it will usually lead him to open up later on about the more sensitive ideas.
Right. What other things can't you control?
You can't control your looks either.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Although you're not a bad-looking guy.
Thank you.
No, you are. You're a good-looking guy. You keep yourself well, and you're good. You're fit. You're tall. Yeah. What other things can't you control?
I'm unaware. I'm not aware of anything else you can't control.
What about like physical disabilities? Right. Obviously, if you were blind, or
Unfortunately, you can't control that.
Yeah, you can't control that. That's what I mean. So these are things you can't control, or other disabilities. If you're mentally handicapped, or if you have an amputee, or there's other things. And so does that, would you include that in those issues that you can't control?
Yes.
And so how long have you had this this feeling towards women who are attracted to this particular type of guy?
Ever since I started college.
Ever since you started college, okay. Was it something that occurred as a result of a single incident? Like, was there one particular moment in your life where it sort of struck home this was a problem, or was it just a?
On Halloween of 2013, I was attending a house party, and I walked in and attempted to socialize with some girls. However, they all laughed at me and held the arms of the big guys instead.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of rude. And how did that make you feel?
I felt very angry
Yeah.
that they would, because I considered myself a supreme gentleman. I was angry that they would give their love and affection to obnoxious brutes.
Really. And so it was at that particular moment, and that was sort of the defining moment that made you think that, this is wrong, and these people are
Yes.
are unfairly treating you in the way that they were.
Yes.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I appreciate you telling me that. That says a lot. And so from that point on, what did you start doing?
I started thinking that it's unfair that certain guys will not get any love and affection from girls.
Okay. And what do you mean by certain guys?
Such as me, that are very nice and act gentlemanly.
Right. Are there other guys? Did you find other guys are in the same?
I know of several other guys over the internet who feel the same way, but I know I would consider them too cowardly to act on their anger.
Oh, okay. And so on the internet, what are you talking about in terms of?
Specifically, certain boards on 4chan.
Oh, okay, 4chan. I'm familiar with 4chan. So that's
such as R9K and Poll.
Okay, so describe 4chan to me. What is 4chan specifically?
It's an image board
Right.
where people can anonymously make any post they want.
Mm-hmm.
The three boards that I have frequented are B, which is the random board.
Okay, yeah.
POL, or poll,
Right.
stands for politically incorrect.
Okay.
And R9K, which is basically means R9000. It's in effect, they're saying we're all robots. Anyone who messages on that board.
Okay, so those are the three boards that you go to.
Yes.
To is it fair to say you chat?
Yes.
You chat, so you chat with other similar-minded people,
Yes.
right? So 4chan is a website, and within 4chan there are these messaging boards,
Yes.
and they're individual boards specific to like-minded people.
Yes.
And how many boards would there be in total on 4chan?
There are about 50 different boards on 4chan, but most of them are actually unrelated to the to B, R9K, or poll. Therefore, I don't bother going on them.
Right.
Because in fact, if I tried to talk about topics that I was talking about on those other boards, my posts would get deleted.
Oh, okay, all right. So there's moderators
Yes.
who monitor the conversations, and they kind of police the conversations. And if you're not part of the group conversation, they kick you out.
Yes.
Oh, okay. When did you first? Sorry, you mentioned this, and I forgot. When did you first go on to 4chan?
2014.
2014, and specifically when in 2014?
May 23, 2014.
And how were you able to remember that?
Because I remember that was a very significant day.
Okay, what day was that?
That was when Elliot Rodger decided to essentially commit an uprising, a beta uprising, if you will,
Right.
against the Chads and the Stacys.
Okay, and that was in the United States.
Yes.
And so when you talk
Well,
about
because incels don't believe in borders,
right, okay,
so locations are irrelevant to us.
right, but for geographical reference only, am I right to understand it occurred in California?
Yes.
Okay, and what type of what type of uprising occurred? What happened?
It was a beta uprising.
It was Elliot Rodger who was the father. Of
Basically,
this.
the founding forefather of the entire movement.
Right. So explain to me this movement. What's this movement about?
It's basically a movement of angry incels, such as myself, who are unable to get laid. Therefore, we want to overthrow the Chads,
Mhm.
which would force the Stacys to be forced to reproduce with the incels.
Right. Okay. And when you say incels,
Involuntary celibate.
celibate. So that's just a short form for fellas who
Can't get laid.
Can't have sex. Right. Okay. And what happened in the Elliot Rodgers uprising? What did he do?
I know he used a gun as well as a vehicle to convert the life status of certain individuals to death status.
Right.
Only to carry the message that incels can't be oppressed.
Right. So it was an act of rebellion.
Yes.
It was out of frustration and anger.
You could call it an incel rebellion.
Incel Rebellion, exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay. And how many lives were converted from living to dead?
6.
6 in total. Okay. And he used a vehicle in that as
Yes.
well. As part of the process of converting these lives.
Yes.
And was anything else? Did he do anything else?
I know he used a knife
Right.
for his first 3 murders.
For his first 3 murders. Okay. All right. And so what did you discuss with these guys?
We discussed our frustrations at society and being unable to get laid, and we were plotting a certain timed strikes on society in order to confuse and shake the foundations, just to put all the normies in a state of panic.
Okay, and who would be a normie?
Normie means normal people. That would be anyone who is considered to be normal by the unfair standards of society.
But not the Chads or Stacys.
Chads and Stacys are actually above normies, or at least they think they're above
of course,
normies.
yeah. Okay, all right. So is it fair to say you've got Chads and Stacys up here, normies down here, and then you've got celebs who believe that they are being repressed? Incels, sorry.
Yes.
Incels who believe they're being suppressed or repressed,
yes.
and so as a result, to even the playing field,
yes,
they convert the Stacys and Chads from living to dead, and to make
so that we come out on top.
Yeah, more than so. Is there so the targets? Who would the targets for this uprising be?
All of the alpha males.
All the alpha males. So the Chads.
Yes.
So those are the people that you want to kill.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And who else?
Any of the Stacys who do not wish to give their love and affection to the incels.
So they're a target as well.
Yes.
To be killed.
Yes.
Okay. And what about the normies? Normies.
Yes, we don't necessarily wish to kill the normies, but we do wish to subjugate them in order to make them understand that that our type is the more superior one.
Right. So when you say subjugate, what do you mean by that?
Meaning either imprison them or put them in a lower position in society.
Okay.
So that they acknowledge the incels or the Pepe the Frog types as the more superior ones.
Okay. And in this thinking, what were you thinking specifically?
About how the foundations of the world would be shooken by this event.
Okay. And when you say that, what do you mean by the foundations of this world?
Meaning that I was fairly confident that others would be inspired to repeat the same actions as me, in basically just to overthrow society.
Okay.
In fact, actually, to be honest, the only reason I stopped my attack was because someone's drink got splashed on my windshield, and I was worried that I would crash the van anyway, so I decided, okay, now I wanted to do more, but I've kind of been foiled by a lack of visibility. So then that's when I turned right, and I saw the cops approaching, so I decided to pull over and get out of my van.
Okay. You physically stop your vehicle?
Yes.
You physically stop. So you end the assault?
Yes.
Okay. And you end it because you can't see?
Yes.
And you knew the cops were coming?
Yes.
Okay. And so then what happens at that point?
I see a patrol car pull over, and I hear the cops screaming at me to get out. So I get out, and I point my wallet at the cop with the intent for it to be confused with a gun, so that I could be fatally shot.
Okay. And was that something you were thinking about?
Yes.
I know. I mean, what I'm saying
is... Even beforehand, I premeditated as an attempted suicide by cop.
You wanted to be killed by the police?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask why you decided to equip yourself with a wallet and not something else?
I was worried. I was thinking about purchasing a toy gun, right, but I was kind of paranoid that for whatever reason, the rental company would ask to see my pockets or any bag if I chose to bring that. So I decided to go as stealthy as possible so no one suspects anything.
Okay, all right. And so, realizing that the officer wasn't going to shoot you, what did you do at that point?
I realized I had no choice but to get on the ground, because I was probably going to be tackled anyways or tased, and if I'm going to live, I'd rather not encounter a physically painful experience, so I decided I have no choice but to admit defeat at that point.
Right, okay. And so when you say admit defeat, what did you do?
I got on the ground.
Okay. And in terms of how did you get on the ground?
Well, I turned around, I got on my knees, and then I got on flat on the ground.
Face down?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
Then he put his knee in me, on my back,
Okay.
and then he handcuffed me.
Okay.
And another officers arrived and pinned me down as well.
Okay. All right. Can we shake your hand?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Is there any questions you have of me?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. If I need to speak to you again, would you be up to that?
Yes.
Okay.
There has been a long delay in the official sentencing of Alek Minassian. As of this recording on June 3rd, 2022, he has just now been confirmed to be sentenced to only one of the murders on June 13th, 2022. He was found guilty for 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. It's safe to say Alek will be locked up for a very long time. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Thank you all for 500 subscribers. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe.